Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. Moshe and I will be discussing the tool Azure DevOps for Backlog and Agile Boards. Moshe's used ADO for several years now, and I've recently switched over to ADO from Jira. So let's go ahead and hop in. How you doing, Moshe?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing very good.
Nice. Enjoying the summer?
Enjoying the summer. It's flying very quickly. So
it's always like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Azure DevOps or ADO. The interesting thing about this one is that for some reason I wasn't able to find a product manager out there that was able to come and join us on the show. Mm-hmm. But then we were thinking we know Azure DevOps, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So let's just do it, right?
Absolutely. And I thought it was important for us to talk about it since you were using this in your past role, and I've started to use it, so it could help me in my current role. So
absolutely,
I thought it was worth it.
And it's growing. I think there is quite a bit of people that are actually using it out there.
Yep.
Maybe they don't care to admit it. I'm not really sure. The thing about Azure DevOps is that, it's part of the Azure platform. So it's part of the Microsoft platform. And the main reason why I moved to it when I worked at Procom was because Procom was working on Microsoft platforms and they were going into the Azure cloud. So it just makes sense to work with Azure DevOps because it was part of the same platform that they're working on already. So there was it was a logical move for them. And I'm sure there is, similar to that, there is many other people out there that are, Microsoft shops and they work everything Microsoft. So it definitely makes sense to them to be on Azure DevOps. Although, Jira and other platforms integrate very well with many other products like Microsoft product, but still it's almost like an ecosystem that if you use one product in that ecosystem, why not use the other?
Very much. Yeah. And switching over, coming from Jira over to DevOps, even the experience of it, because it is in that Microsoft stack. And that's what I've had the most exposure to, whether it's, the Office products or Power BI and the Power Platform products, just the look and feel and being able to get set up, it definitely has the Microsoft branding and just the experience in general around it. So I felt like it was easier for me just to get up and running with it and work with it because it is that Microsoft stack.
Right. And the boards and backlog in Azure DevOps is only, a couple of modules over there. There is other modules that are built specifically for DevOps.
Yep.
Hence the name.
Yep.
And but the boards and your backlog, and also a few other things in there that are actually quite useful, like retrospectives. So you can create a retrospective board kind of inside ADO and run your retrospective on it, and it's linked with with your backlog and other things like that. So there it's quite a full solution for the team, if you may.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that I worked with Jira probably for maybe 8-9 years, and then I actually the position I had before I worked at Procom, I actually worked for a year at a startup, and over there we use Pivotal Tracker. And then when I joined Procom, we were just beginning to implement Azure DevOps, so I was helping with that. So I moved from Jira to Pivotal to Azure DevOps, and now that I'm at Risk Thinking, which I joined very recently, I moved back to Jira. So, but I used Azure DevOps for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and I was also in the core team that implemented it in the beginning. So I was, like a full admin in the beginning, setting up lots of different things. So I had that experience as well.
Oh, good.
And yeah. So I can tell you that when I moved to Azure DevOps, I also was I wasn't sure if I like it or not. But then the backlog, one of the things about the backlog that I actually liked over there was that you can have they call it a backlog, but it is really a tree structure of epic features and stories. So you can create any number of epics, and then you can create in the epic any number of features, and then in the features you can create any number of stories or bugs or whatever it is. And it's that's one of the things that was always like missing in Jira, that you can have this tree structure to show where your stories belong. So in Jira, you have the epics, and the epics are you can see them in the board on the side, and you can also highlight which epics you want to see and stuff like that. There is pros and cons for each one of these. The main pro for the way that Azure DevOps does it is that you can see the entire they call it epics, but it can go through all of your products. So if you have several products, you can break it down that way. You can see all of them at one place. Right. And then if you need to look into, okay, so I want to see stories from other product or other epic or other features, I can just open it up in the tree and see them. But the problem that I usually see over there is that when you prioritize items, you can only really prioritize within the same epic or within the same feature. So it's a bit harder to prioritize across different epics or across different features in what they call the backlog. That's really the main. I don't know how I feel about that, because on one hand it's really nice to see everything in one place, at least to me, because I like to see the full picture. I like to know what is out there. But and in Jira, for example, if there are multiple projects, it's much harder to do. But on the other end, you really want to have one backlog that you can prioritize everything against everything, and then say this is really the priority. And when it's in a tree structure, it's almost I found it hard to do on Azure DevOps.
Yeah, there's two different views. Like on that tree structure, that like kind of a file path, you have your epics, and then you have the nested features underneath your epic, and then you have the nested, we call them PBIs, product backlog items, stories.
No, it's actually the right name for it. Based on Scrum, because it doesn't matter if it's a bug or a story or whatever it is. I never got used to call it backlog item. But so I call them stories and bugs or whatever it is. Right. But it's the same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. So, and I do like that view. That's actually one of the first views I got exposed to, and I use that a lot, especially recently when it comes to trying to prioritize individual PBIs within features, trying to make sure that my features are lined up with my epics. So I do like that view. And I don't recall having that, at least that functionality or that kind of compact view in Jira. I don't remember seeing that. So I do like that quite a bit. But once you're in that view, you lose the ability to prioritize. And when I first started in the DevOps, I was like, how do I prioritize this stuff? So how do I move stuff around? Because the order gets lost as soon as you start to break those out.
Yeah, exactly. So you could still create order within each one of them, but then it's not really across everything. It's just within each one of these buckets.
Yep.
And that's really one of the cons that I see over there.
Yep.
So what I usually did to solve that problem was I used the board, actually. So we had multiple boards, we had multiple teams, and each team has its own board. So we would assign, and then I had my own board that we call the product team board. And every new story that was not yet assigned to a team or whatever it is was assigned to automatically to the team, to the product board. And then the team did not see it. And because they did not see it, it didn't bother them. It wasn't, there was no noise to them or whatever, right?
Okay.
But on that product board, if I wanted, I could also have, and I did it actually on the feature level, not on the story level. And then I move, or even on the epic level. So you can do different levels over there.
Yeah.
And then I would move it. I have my own like Kanban kind of board for that. And I would move it across, like, now I'm doing discovery on this, now I'm doing interviews, now I'm doing user design, and etc., until it's ready for the developers. And only then I would move it once it's ready for developers, and I had more stories that are hashed out and are ready for grooming by the team. I would go and assign it to their board. So what happened when I assigned it to their board is that they started seeing it on their board in the new column, which we also use Kanban, not a Scrum board. Yep. Azure DevOps allow you to create a Kanban board or a Scrum board, and you can define the different columns over there and the statuses the way you want. I actually found it easier to set up compared to Jira. Jira is a very sophisticated workflow. We talked about it in the past,
right?
That you can do everything and anything, and it has a graphical interface, to set up that workflow and how it goes. But then you can, we talked about it with Emily, you can be so sophisticated that it becomes unmanageable sometimes.
Right.
You want to keep it simple. And I found that Azure DevOps has the right level of simplicity versus complexity, that you can still set up your flow and statuses, but it's not as complex. It didn't seem like it could become as complex as Jira.
Yeah, I like the card structure too with the agile boards. Something about the way the cards are configured and laid out between the different lanes.
They're actually, I think they're taking less space on the screen.
Yeah.
And they have a bit more better feel, like real world whiteboard with cards on it.
Yeah, and I felt like with the Jira, they were you kind of had to scroll up and down if one had too many cards in it, and I just felt like it was taking up too much space, and I just felt like looking at it was cumbersome sometimes.
And the nice thing about Azure DevOps is that you can define what you want to see on the card, so you can add fields to the card.
Yep.
So if you have some tags, or you have like your estimates or the due date or whatever you want really on the available fields, you can customize and add any number of fields that you want. So you can have the fields that come out of the box, plus you can add your own fields. You can also, if you have subtasks, it will show you how many subtasks are done versus not done. And then you can expand it and see each one of the subtasks in a little list, and you can cross them out over there. So it's actually pretty convenient. And I think, again, compared to Jira, it's a bit more compact. Yep. And therefore and still flexible enough. Yeah, so this is how I used to work. But then one of the main problem was that, and this is something that always kind of bothered me with Azure DevOps, is when I had my own priorities in my backlog. Let's say I had a feature, and the feature had like 20 stories, and I prioritized those stories inside the feature. And I'm like, this is important to do, so I put them on the top. So I was able to, move them around in that list or in that bucket. Once I could do it only when it was assigned to me. Once I assign it to the team, it will put it at the bottom of that list, and it put a little icon next to it saying with an eye icon, and it says, well, now that it's on another board, you cannot move it anymore. So so I could only move the things that were not yet assigned to the team. Now, it kind of, maybe it makes sense, because once it's in the team's hand, you don't want to move it.
It forces them to pick it up and do something with it. It
forces them to pick it up, but then if I want to order those for the team, I have to go to their board and over there to move them around. And so it's almost like I have to do a double duty of my backlog.
Sounds that way.
Right. It's okay. I got used to it. And it's just some of those gotchas that you have to know when you start using it. But, it's tightly integrated with all the tools that the developers are using for their source control and their branching and testing and all that stuff, like a DevOps system should be.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems like, it was originally conceptualized as it is DevOps, it's in the name, but, it's got repo, pipelines, test plans, artifacts, and then the backlog and agile board might be secondary to all that. Jira is kind of the other way around, I think.
I have to tell you that shame on me that I don't remember the old name that I had for it. But when I was a developer, I actually, all my career, well, not in the army, but after that, all my career was on Microsoft platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I developed on Microsoft platform probably for like 14 years, starting with really VBA and VB6 and then VB.NET and then C# and a lot of ASP.NET and stuff like that. As I was going through this progression, they developed this platform to help with all the different source control and stuff like that. And that's what the name, I don't remember right now. I'm sure some of the
Visual Studio something or
no. There was a name for it, and I'm sure some of the audience are shouting their names right now while they're listening to that because they know it. But sorry for that, guys. But they renamed it to DevOps, and then I guess they also figured, let's also add. But at that point, I wasn't in development anymore. I moved to product management, and product management opened the world to me to non-Microsoft based systems. So my first product management position was on with the system that was built with Java, some open source. Nothing was Microsoft over there, so we used Jira. So I kind of lost touch at that time with the Microsoft world, and then Azure DevOps became to me like, okay, so now I'm using Azure DevOps, right?
Is it VSTS?
Maybe. Do you see what it stands for?
I don't know. I saw Jira versus Azure, and it said formerly VSTS.
Could probably, and I might.
That's why I was wondering if the Visual Studio or something like that was the VS.
Team share? No, team...
like Visual Studio Team something or something.
Yes. No, I'm trying to scratch my memory to see if I can remember that.
I found that on the Jira side, not on the DevOps site. So DevOps probably scrubbed that. DevOps probably scrubbed that from all their documents.
Right. Not that important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really some of the things that we liked and don't like, I guess, about Azure DevOps. But I think that there is definitely a growing market out there for it. A lot of people that are using it.
Yep.
And for some reason, maybe they're not on LinkedIn, and that was hard for me to find them. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. And it's not marketed as hey, this is for product teams, this is for product management, and maybe also engineering and design. But another thing I do like about it is the querying. So I use the JQL and Jira, and it does have querying capabilities, the and if text and value querying. And I do like you can run those queries, get results, make sure it's what you want.
Yes.
You can edit it, and then you can go to charts, and you can create a bar chart of your query results. I think that's pretty cool. That's not I wasn't doing the charts and stuff in Jira. If they have that, I'm not sure, but I thought that was pretty nice in their query feature.
Yes, it actually is pretty nice. They don't have like a language like Jira does, but it's fine. I think that
it may not be as advanced, but
it's pretty easy to use it and to save queries and to create queries as your personal ones or share them with the team and stuff like that. I actually use it quite a bit to show the team some of their progress because I found that it was easier to do it that way rather than through the board. For some reason. But you're right. It's actually not quite decent.
We were leaning on it some because the native filters that are available on the board. It's got the basic filters that you might want, but it doesn't have quite all the stuff you might want to use to prioritize your board and stuff. So being able to query stuff and get results is pretty handy. I certainly like to use it.
Well, one of the filters that our team used on the board when they did the stand-up was because of the virtual world, there was no physical board anymore. The team leader, one of the team, would share it on the screen in the meeting, and then whenever a person was talking, they will just filter their stories so you could see only their stories on the board.
Right.
So that was actually a nice way to use that.
And I do like all the various configurations that come along with it, all the different elements that you can implement to build out your tickets there's also something that the templates are interesting, and that's something we're looking to leverage as well. So
interesting. Yeah. I tried the templates. I'm not big on templates for some reason. And I actually we never used them eventually. We knew what we wanted. So we wanted to have, the story itself, acceptance criteria. We added a few fields for like success criteria and for release notes. So we wanted to have that everything encompassed in one place on the story. And for a bug, we also put like root cause and stuff like that.
Yep.
But other than that, we didn't really have a template within those fields. So the template was the fields, and that was it. So it's quite free form. But you could set up rules to say, which fields have to be mandatory when you move from one step to another step. That was useful. And stuff like that. One thing that I always kind of annoyed me in ADO is to find where I need to do the setup. They have quite a bit of setup pages, but to set up a project or a board or something like that versus setting up the structure of your user story or bug or whatever it is, it was always hard for me to find where I do that. I always had to spend some time to find it. So something in their interface was not very friendly about finding the setup for these specific things. Because you don't do it every day. So if you do it every day, you might remember. But if you have to do it once in a while because you think about a better idea to do something, and then you have to go and look for it, it was a bit hard. Part of it in the beginning, when I was still like an administrator, because I set it up, I kind of got you to used to where to find it. But then after a while, after a couple of years, I was like not that anymore. There was other people managing that, and then I wanted to on a specific project, I wanted to do a bit little configuration that I was able to do with my permissions. But I couldn't find it like for 10 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, fine. So now I found it. So that's I found for some reason quite challenging in IDO, all of these settings.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And then one of the things that kind of drives me crazy sometimes is when you do have filters on and you're filtering things out, you want to create a work item kind of in that hierarchy structure, like we mentioned earlier, the epic feature, story level. You're like, I want to create a work item here, but it's like, oh, you can't do it. You need to take all your filters off. And that's something that bugs me sometimes too as well. So I'm like, I got the perfect view. I know once I create the ticket, I know where it's going to go, but it wants to drop it at the top of the backlog or the bottom of the backlog. Yeah. So I guess I understand it, but it still drives me crazy sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Another little thing, and I know you're probably not. I think we mentioned it before, but it has dark mode. I know you're probably not a dark mode fan.
I'm not the dark mode,
but I'm a dark. It's so polarizing. But yeah, I'm a dark mode fan, so I do dark mode wherever I can. And Jira, I don't think ever had it. You can do if you're using Chrome. I think it'll Chrome will. You can use some Chrome extension that does like dark mode, but it's not like a something that Jira offers.
The funny thing about dark mode is that when I see other people's boards or their system, it's a sensitive that I've used it, but I see theirs, I'm like, what are you using? That's a different product.
I know, it's funny. You get on the call and share your screen, and everybody's like, what's going on here? Yeah. It's quite funny. So
and the funny thing is that my personal website I created as a dark mode. I have no idea why. I don't like dark modes, but I was like, oh, if people like it, maybe they will like my website.
It's the outlier. Yeah, it's the experimentation.
No, it's like catering to the public, right? If the public like it, maybe I should try it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think
for them, it's not for me.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's at least it's a small thing, but I think it helps me out. It makes me want to use the product more. So it helps with my eyes and just the way I see things and how things pop out. And it might be small, but the ability to toggle that on and off.
Absolutely,
I think it's a great feature that a lot of products now have that, but was something that I don't think Jira had.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Everyone that I work with now, when I see their Jira board, when they share the screen, it's always white. You're right. I never noticed it because I never looked for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not hunting for the dark mode. I believe me, I hunted for dark mode Jira. I did some searching for it, but couldn't find it. I think it kind of goes along with the branding, maybe because they are, with Confluence and the other products they have. It's very blue and white. Right. Their website and everything. So it go in line with their branding and stuff. So
and we know, talking with about Jira, and we know that they're using their own
Avanom.
System. Yeah, Avanom, yeah.
Yep.
So talking with Avanom, we know that they're using their own systems.
Yep.
So maybe their CEO or the head people over there, they like white mode, and they're like, okay, now we have to align with them, right? So who knows?
Yeah, we'll go look into the feedback and insights boards and see if people are sending in feedback and see what their responses are. So
absolutely.
But so how you now move from, you've come full circle. You now moved from DevOps back to Jira.
Yes.
So
listen, I'm a bit agnostic about the product that I'm using.
Yep.
I always say that, for many years I say that it's not the tools that make the work, it's the people that make the work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cannot use the tool that you have to do the work, probably no tool that you will get will make you do the work. So so it's not like waiting for another tool to come in and only then you will be able to do your work. So to me, I've used like I mentioned 3 products. I've used Trello for very small projects, and I used in the past other project management systems like Microsoft Project and Primavera and stuff like that. They're very heavy on project management and Gantt charts. They're not really anything related to backlogs or agile boards.
Yeah.
But from all of that experience, I always learned that there is probably never going to be a perfect system out there.
Yeah.
And it's whichever system that really works for the team. And the most people on the team that it works for them, that's great. And we really have to all be able to use the same system, because if we use different systems, we will, there will be miscommunications, and there is not going to be transparency and whatever it is. I'm not saying that, if Jira doesn't work for me, I shouldn't look for another product. That's not what I'm saying. But if this is the product that most team members feel is the best product to do the job, then I will align with that and, do my best to do my job as well. Exactly. So I'm pretty agnostic about it, and I'm okay with Jira. There is a bit of things over there that I think could be better. I think there is a lot of white space, and sometimes it's there is, it's okay. I'm not too concerned about that. We are using also Confluence, which is a whole different topic, but the Confluence is actually one of the products that I don't like. The reason is because I don't see a lot of value in it, actually. Because there is, if you use Microsoft Office with all the Office suite, and you have Word, you can do quite a bit of stuff in there that is similar to Confluence, and in my opinion better. If you use Google Suite and you have your Word files over there or whatever it is, you can, in my opinion, it's easier to use. I don't know, I just don't see a value in another product that does a similar thing.
Right.
But that's again because some people are using this, some people are using that, and then where is that file, where should I look for it, and all of that stuff. So to me it's more about everyone using the same product for the same reasons, and you have better communication, better transparency, better organization, better collaboration. But that's me. I'm sure there are other opinions out there.
Right. Did you ever take your backlog items to Word documents? Like, is there any sort of like embedded links that, well, you can embed the links, but in terms of building out like a framework and a page and a some repository, does it have anything like that?
I usually never done it from Azure DevOps to Word. I would do it the other way around.
Yeah.
So if I write, some people will call it a PRD, some people will call it, depends what you call it in your organization, a requirement document or a product brief, whatever it is, which is really a high level. It doesn't list all the stories. It shouldn't list all the stories because you don't want to have two systems where you have all the stories listed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it might list your epics or your high-level stories before you break them down to smaller stories on the board. Then I will go from that direction. So it will start with a Word file and then it will go into Azure DevOps. I'm trying to think about the integration over there. I can't remember right now how we did that. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I had to put them in there, right?
Okay.
But we use other products. And in the past, we were talking about how Jira is integrated with everything and anything. Yeah. And the first thing that startups will integrate with will be Jira because most people are using it. And Azure DevOps is kind of lagging behind. That's still the case. I find it's still the case.
Yeah, me too.
But we use, for example, Product Board and was able to... It was integrated with Azure DevOps, not to the same level as Jira. It was newer and it was less functionality, but still you were able to integrate over there. One thing that I liked was the integration with Microsoft Teams. So in Microsoft Teams, you can actually have a plugin in there that you can search on the comments when you write something in Teams. You can search for your story that you want to insert over there, and then it will usually show you the last stories that you opened on Azure DevOps. Yep. And so you don't even have to search for the last thing that you opened. And then all you have to do is you hit enter once you search it, and it will create this card in your chat on Teams with the details of the story. And this way, when you see it right away, you know what the story is because the name is in there and there is a link to go to the story. I always told everyone to use that because most people, what they will do, they will go to Jira, they will copy the link, they will put the link inside. So it's a lot of work to do that. Yeah. And once they do that, I don't know what the story is about because all I see is a link with a number. And I'm like, I have to go and open it and stuff like that. And this way, when you use the plugin, you know right there what the story is about because the title of the story is there. And if you still want to open it, you can click on it and it will take you there. So it was, and because the search shows you the last thing that you opened, you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to go and copy the link from the board. All you have to do is just select it from the list because it shows you the last one, and that's it. So it's very easy to use, and lots of people don't know about it actually.
That's excellent.
Every time someone send me a link, I would always make sure I show them how to do that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. We spend the vast majority of our time in Teams, and we do have the integration with DevOps in there, but that's a good use case of how to make work better.
Absolutely, and it saves a lot of time, and the communication becomes much better, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I even did a little Loom videos and sent it to everyone to show them how to do it. So every time someone didn't do it, I just send them the Loom and do that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to explain to them again and again.
Oh, that's good. And that's something I'm missing in DevOps, the Loom integration.
I see. So I mean, I don't know what Loom integration Jira has. I never used that, but you can still use Loom with anything. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Jira had a really good one where it actually had like the embedded. You could do the Loom video and then integrate it right into your ticket.
Oh, I see.
As pop up in your ticket. Yeah,
I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, here you can add any links that you want.
Yeah.
So in Azure DevOps ticket, you can add links, any link that you want. So it's not that bad, but maybe it's not as fancy as Jira.
This has been really helpful for me. I've just started using DevOps and I'm still learning it. And I think this has been some good information for me and hopefully for others out there.
I'm not using it anymore, but I'm happy to help.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks, Moshe. Thanks to all the listeners. We really do appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again next time.
Absolutely, and continue enjoying the summer.
Yes.
And looking forward to continue our podcast.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye-bye.